before we get into it, if you could give me a little subscription and like on this video, I would love it. It's quick and easy, and I'm trying to get into Valorant content and see how people like it. With that out of the way, enjoy the video. Just a quick note here, I am talking about professional Valorant here. I don't think that the Installak Jet going 3-20 and screaming about how you're garbage at the game and this is his Smurf and he's a top 100 player is good for the game. I think he's a prick. You probably know of the shooter Valorant. Recently, their competitive teams, professional teams, had an event in Los Angeles, Valorant Champions. I could talk about so many storylines from this event, from EG's incredible run from underdog to world champions with Demon 1, to Jing not getting his trophy after being forced to retire. But instead, I'm going to talk about the Valorant community. Now, this is probably your average person that plays Valorant and is in the community. The community has an awful reputation, and it is well-deserved in my opinion. I play the game pretty casually, but just even a little bit of the content that you see is awful, whether it be smurfing or just general eat-eating cringe. However, what I did not expect from this community, and clearly I need to lower expectations because they were not down far enough, is for them to get mad over this.
Bye-bye!
Oh.
Bye-bye is crazy!
Alright, there's no one else I want to speak to.
Now here's that same thing on Twitter, and here we go in the comment section. They should have got grouped. Should be thankful they get to play. Imagine behaving like this and then losing to DRX. Show this kid his place. Bro thinks he's device. C9 did this. It's over. We know what's going to happen next. Just like C9. This won't age well. This is Valorant. This is what happened to Cloud9. EG's fate is sealed. I'm sure their fate was sealed and it worked out horribly. And this was on for a while, especially on Twitter, like I keep repeating, people saying it should be kicked out, that this has no place. I mean, goodness, being happy that you won something in a video game, disgraceful. How dare you? But even the opponents of Evil Geniuses says, oh, they were only toxic for a show. China's never going to be better than North America, was something from Boosty the People pulled up as well. And they did never lose to China. But Paper X player something says, oh, they weren't just being toxic. It was just for social media stuff and interviews. They're good people in real life. And obviously you see the org name Evil Geniuses right there. And that's kind of how they're playing it on their social media. It's just, oh, we're a bunch of evil, troll, yada, yada, yada. And that kind of stuff, that's how they play it, which is a lot better than how they were in their we have 5 fans start of their social media. And of course, after this clip by Demon 1 after winning in his interview.
Demon 1, when you came into this team, I remember seeing the conversation online, and there were question marks. People were unsure. They were like, wait, who is this guy? Why is he on this team? Is this just a meme? They weren't sure. And then you start playing, and then you start shutting people up. I mean, was that it? Was that your motivation the whole time? Like, the moment you got on this team, you just want to prove everyone wrong?
Oh yeah, fuck the haters. Respect my fucking name. End of game.
If you couldn't catch that at the end, he said he was the best player in the game. And I believe he did have one of the best statistical games of the tournament. And even this, after just winning, you can tell he's at an all-time high. He just came from a low team. There were still people saying, oh my goodness, this is awful. He should be, I'm sure he got fined, but he should be kicked out. Again, just the same lolcows on Twitter that live in their mother's basement. But I'm here to argue something else. I'm here to argue that it's for the good of the sport. This created a bunch of storylines. I've already touched on the social media aspect for EG, but it created a bunch of storylines for the casters here. I have them muted, but for the casters, if you were watching, and for the players, just saying, oh yeah, they really embraced the role of being that evil, that kind of troll team, which is part of why I think Demon 1 said that. Obviously, there was part of the just actually wanting respect, which I can get, and of course I can never guess fully his intentions, but they really played it up, and I think some of them even admitted to that, because that's what makes something interesting. If you logged on, if you logged on to Twitch and went and just saw this gameplay, and it would be interesting, sure, but without storylines, as Demon One does this incredible play, without storylines, this gets old pretty fast for most people. I'm not gonna say all people, but it would get old for me. I was just recently introduced into this, and if there weren't storylines or something to keep people engaged, for example, in one of the games, I've mentioned this earlier, Busio had said a decent bit that Chinese Valorant was never going to be at the level of North American Valorant. They played a Chinese team. I can't recall the name at the moment. And a huge storyline for that game was, is he going to be proved wrong? And he even said in something post game that if he had lost that, his career was over. He admitted it was jokingly. But it's things like that that make something fun to watch. In sports, you have dynasties, you have players, you have contract, you have all of this. And we have this in Valorant competitive, but it's not played up to the same level. Whenever you have something, you need a storyline for it. Again, you could watch this all day, but it's going to get boring without some sort of story. Now, there were other stories, obviously. EG's just underdog run, but it really added that extra little bit when you're saying, oh yeah, and they're shooting bodies, and they're being quote-unquote toxic. It was good for the game. It got people engaged, and I have no opposition to it, and I don't think anyone else should. Because at the end of the day, this is a video game. These are pixels. They're shooting pixelated bodies, and they're adults. They can handle it. Their opponents have said that they're fine with it, and PRX and EG actually were doing it back and forth a little bit. Someone said that 21 times there were teabags in one of the matches. But it is good for the sport. And if you're getting mad about it, you're soft. It's, to reiterate, a video game. These are grown men. They can handle themselves. And it's dumb that people will say, oh my goodness, this is toxic behavior, when it's part of the name of their organization and it's part of video games. You can say whatever you want, but a good part of video games is toxicity. Now, that's being curbed out now in a lot of games, but I mean, what's the first thing that you think of? You think of an old COD lobby. It's not rainbows and sunshine, and it's not something that you could say on Twitter, most likely. It's not something you could go outside and say. But that's part of games. Do I think that that should be in games right now? No. But do I think that a little wave, shots of bodies a little bit is going to just, it's such an awful thing? No. It's good for the sport, if you want to call it a sport, and it creates storylines, which is all you can ask for. And everyone else is fine with it. Again, something on PRX right here, the Jet, that's opping. He's fine with it, and he said it's just for social media stuff. So you should be fine with it as well, because you're getting offended on behalf of someone else. I hope that this was informative, and I hope you could drop me a sub and a like here for more Valorant content. I'm trying to kind of test the waters here with this one to see how it's going to be received. So have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Goodbye.